news from across the Federation, spanning the region and covering the globe. This is the Kiss FM SKN News Now Morning Edition, your one true source for news. And now your presenter.
Good morning. Today is Saturday, 4th February 2017. I'm Leslie Joseph. This is the SKN News Now Weekend Edition, brought to you with the kind compliments of Glenbarrow's Pest Control and Guest House. These are the top stories this hour. Nationally, the St. Kitts Nevis officials will receive training in a new labor system during a 3-day workshop next week. Regionally, former U.S. President Barack Obama and his wife have ended a 10-day vacation in the BVI. Internationally, French police have identified the man in yesterday's attempted Louvre attack. And in sport, two major world sport event finals are slated for tomorrow: the Super Bowl in the U.S. and the Africa Cup of Nations in Gabon. Now for a look at the stories in detail. Officials from a number of public sector agencies will join with representatives from the private sector and trade unions at a workshop on February 6th and 9th. The workshop is designed to advance efforts in the creation of a regional labor management information system, LMIS. The LMIS will allow for the effective and timely monitoring of changes in employment and unemployment levels in St. Kitts and Nevis, which will in turn influence policy. Acting Commissioner in the Department of Labor, Shernell James, said the data will be pivotal in monitoring employment changes for government, employers, and workers in order to devise appropriate employment policies and adjust to varying conditions in the labor market. The workshop, which will take place at the Ocean Terrace Inn, will field representatives from the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union, the St. Kitts Teachers Union, the Department of Labor, the Social Security Board, the Department of Youth Empowerment, and several government ministries. While assisting local institutions in program planning, the information will ultimately be used to shape policy for the Caribbean community. Ms. James noted that when established, the LMIS will allow for the proper management of the free movement of people provided for under the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME. The CARICOM Secretariat is spearheading the regional training effort, which is funded under the 10th European Development Fund, EDF. Today is World Cancer Day. The objective is to raise awareness to the multiple types of cancer and the millions of lives affected every year. Daunting challenges are faced, not only by those that struggle to survive the disease, but also those that are a support system. Early detection can save your life. Mammograms, pap smears, prostate exams, and regular medical checkups should not be put off until tomorrow. The Ministry of Health is urging everyone to take a moment and remember them today. In that memory, take a step forward. Make a screening appointment for yourself. Volunteer a few hours to aid someone undergoing treatment, or make a small lifestyle change like starting to exercise. The tagline for this year's campaign is, "We can. I can." We can find more effective screening. We can create better treatments and find cures. We can help those that cannot afford care. We can change the stigma associated with cancer. 3 officers of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force completed the Regional Security System Training Institute's Advanced Polygraph Examiner course on Friday, 3rd February in Antigua. The officers from the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force who participated in the program are Inspector Eldrin Dickinson and Sergeants Concy Rogers and Valentine Hodge. The officers were joined by other counterparts from Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and host country Antigua and Barbuda. Inspector Eldrin Dickinson explained that the objective of the training was to reinforce already acquired skills and to highlight the latest changes in policy and procedures regarding the principles of polygraph for the participants. He continued that the refresher was beneficial for previously learned techniques relating to both pre-employment screening and diagnostic testing. Commissioner of Police Ian Quealy expressed that the training's timing was spot on, as the police service has decided to use polygraph screening as part of the police recruitment process, and also in part to ensure that the integrity of the force is maintained throughout the ranks. In related news, Naris Ramnarayan is the new head of the forensic unit of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. This announcement was made by Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, earlier this week.
We have brought in a new head at the forensic unit, and I therefore want to welcome Mr. Naris Ramnarayan. That's you? I welcome you. Thank you for coming to the Federation. He will now lead and transform our forensic unit into a world-class effort. He comes with much experience, and I gather to date you have shown the correct kind of interest in what is happening. Whatever resources you need, we will provide.
Commissioner of Police Ian Quealy shared similar sentiments, noting that Mr. Ramnarayan, a national of Trinidad and Tobago, comes with a wealth of experience in the forensic field. He added that Ramnarayan's competence will lead the new thrust that the institution is putting on forensics. Naris Ramnarayan is a former law enforcement officer in his home country, Trinidad and Tobago, and brings 26 years of experience with him to his new position here in the Federation. Regionally, former U.S. President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle got some well-deserved rest in the British Virgin Islands, where they escaped this week on a short, very laid-back vacation.
Over the past 2 weeks, the British Virgin Islands BVI has been stealing global headlines as a top vacation destination, and judging from their muftis as they bring the curtains down on a well-deserved getaway in nature's little secret, it's obvious that the Obamas had a whale of a time over the course of their BVI vacation. On February 2, 2017, the two first couples of the territory, Governor John Duncan and wife Anne Marie, along with Premier Smith and wife Lorna, bade farewell to former President of the United States Barack Obama and wife Michelle. Premier Smith's post on his Facebook page on Thursday afternoon said, quote, "Lorna and I bade farewell to former U.S. President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama, who today ended their private 10-day visit to the BVI. I have always admired this president. After 8 years in the White House, the fact that he chose the BVI for his first vacation speaks to the high regard in which this territory is held and to our fine tourism product. Godspeed on your journey back to the U.S. President Obama," end quote. The couple was seen 2 days prior to their departure, dining and relaxing on the island of Anegada, with Michelle in hot pants, a sun hat, and a trendy beach throw, and Barack with his cap turned backwards in the company of billionaire Sir Richard Branson.
More than 24 Nobel Prize winners from Lech Walesa to Rigoberta Menchú are in Colombia's capital, Bogota, for the 16th Annual World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. The visit comes as the country struggles to implement its peace accord with FARC rebels.
For the first time, a summit of Nobel Peace Laureates is being held in Latin America. 28 of them are in the Colombian capital, Bogota, to assist the country's fledgling peace accord with FARC rebels. It's a show of support for the most recent winner, President Juan Manuel Santos.
I think it is important, especially in this case, to show that people who have contributed to peace in various ways, because we all get the prize for different reasons, believe in the possibility of peace in this country so much that we chose to come here.
Hundreds of people, many students, are attending panels and workshops promoting dialogue and understanding across countries. It's seen as an opportunity to hear ideas and best practices by those who fought to protect and promote democracy across the globe.
This has provided an outlet for me to sort of assess everything that I've done and everything that I want to do in life in terms of activism and in terms of my career. So it's provided me a way, an outlook really, to sort of help me observe, but also give me a reason to have a purpose in life.
But if there's one unifying theme here is the rejection of what's described as increasingly nationalistic and isolationist policies in many parts of the world. The policies of the new United States President Donald Trump have been singled out.
It's sad to see refugees and foreigners being rejected and the constant attempt to build a wall which will not only divide people but also consciences. Unfortunately, the horrendous fictions of George Orwell's book 1984 are gradually becoming a repulsive reality.
Former Polish President Lech Walesa and once leader of the Solidarity movement said it's time for people to unite against demagogues.
We need to start working together to respond to these policies, or the demagogues and populists will define our lives.
Events like this one don't pretend to solve the world's many problems, but do offer key ideas on how to continue the fight for a more democratic world, free of violence and fear.
On the international scene, the man who was shot and wounded at the Paris Louvre on Friday after attacking soldiers with a machete has been identified as an Egyptian, and police are trying to establish whether he acted alone or under instructions.
Les investigations qui ne font bien sûr que débuter se poursuivent et se poursuivront tant en France qu'à l'étranger, dans le cadre de la coopération pénale internationale, pour déterminer le parcours, mais aussi les motivations de l'auteur et découvrir notamment s'il a agi seul, spontanément, ou au contraire s'il a agi sur instruction.
Je peux répondre à vos questions. Saluez donc le courage, la détermination, la réaction de ces militaires. You can't take it.
It's been a week since the U.S. president announced his controversial travel ban on 7 mainly Muslim countries. Just hours after the executive order was announced, a mosque in a small Texas town burned to the ground. The cause of the fire is still being investigated, but it has prompted an outpouring of sympathy for the Muslim community.
Once a place where children played, where adults worshipped, and families gathered, the Victoria Islamic Center is now a charred shell where echoes of song are but memories.
Our dream, our home was burned at the front of our eyes.
Imam Osama Hassan discovered the mosque in flames early Sunday morning, even as people around the country gathered in airports to protest President Trump's ban on travelers from 7 predominantly Muslim countries. As those pro-Muslim voices rose,
Muslims are welcome here.
So too did the flames in Victoria.
You cannot describe the feeling. I cannot even hold the phone in my hand to call anyone because I never thought again this place would be like that one day.
Fire investigators have not released the cause, but early signs may point to arson. 3 weeks before, another mosque in Texas also went up in flames, adding to fears that Trump's anti-Muslim rhetoric may have emboldened some people in this conservative state.
The stereotyping is not the real Islam. Islam is about peace and love.
But then something unexpected happened. Donations to the Victoria's Mosque Rebuilding Fund began to pour in online, more than $1 million in 4 days.
I have a phone call from all over the United States, Muslim and non-Muslim, calling to offer their support and help. Just make it amazing.
And the president of Victoria's synagogue offered the Muslims keys to the Jewish temple.
We've had some political changes in the world, and people are uncertain, and I think that it's important for everybody to do what they can do to help everybody else.
In the past week, Christian churches have made the same offer. School children have marched to the mosque to give support. And on this Friday, Muslim worshippers gathered in a makeshift hall next to their destroyed mosque, offering their thankful prayers.
That night, when we saw this place in a fire, I never thought we'd be able to have another place for us. It's kind of small community, but the support from Allah was amazing. Then the support from all the people around us was beautiful.
Workers are now performing the delicate task of trying to save those sacred texts that adorn the entrance of the mosque. The imam says its survival was a miracle. The Quran inside the building also was saved.
It's just burned from all around, but still, the Quran is still inside safe. The word being saved.
For Muslims, these are hopeful signs. They say whether or not the fire was caused by hate now no longer matters, because in the end, it brought an outpouring of love.
And now we take a look at sports. Just one day remains before one of the biggest sporting events in the world, the Super Bowl, and Sunday's game between the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots will no doubt feature some big hits. The effects of concussion have been an ongoing problem for the NFL. However, changes are now being introduced for young players. Lee Wellings reports.
The NFL experience in downtown Houston is the way the game wants to present itself to families. Colourful, fun, exciting and safe. But at the core of American football are big hits, and with those hits comes concussion, of which the long-term effects have finally been recognised. The governing body responsible for the children's game have decided to take action to protect them and the game. With youth participation down amid safety concerns, they are changing the rules, decreasing the size of the field and amount of players.
I think as long as, they continue to focus on the safety, otherwise it's a concern for people with kids.
I think it's gotten too much. I really do. But what can you do now? They're playing football. It's a rough sport.
The older they get, I think, then I give them that choice and let them try it. But for younger kids, I don't know if it's exactly the best idea.
The professional game has not fully recovered from its concussion crisis. Last year, the league paid $1 billion to settle thousands of concussion lawsuits filed by former players with brain injuries. Some former players, including Randy Cross, a 3-time Super Bowl winner with the 49ers, will be donating their brains for research into concussion and related conditions.
Football will never be completely safe. Football in that way is kind of like boxing. Any way you look at it, you're still getting beat up. So we just need to make it as much of an informed decision for the people that are playing.
But it's getting safer.
It's getting safer. Definitely it's getting safer.
NFL bosses say concussion cases are down 11% this season, partly due to 42 rule changes since 2002. But the huge numbers tuning into Super Bowl will not be expecting a sanitised game. They'll expect the players of both teams to put their bodies on the line in pursuit of glory.
The effects of concussion on NFL players in later life are widespread and devastating. The Super Bowl makes people forget about the damage that's being done. But it's a problem that means further changes to the game are inevitable, whatever the impact on its popularity.
The 2017 Africa Cup of Nations comes to an end in Gabon on Sunday. Egypt takes on Cameroon in what is sure to be an exciting match, but between two very unlikely teams. Neither team was favored for the final. Still, they proved their mettle with each hard-fought game. Egypt is hunting their 8th AFCON title, while Cameroon is looking to close the gap on the North Africans with title number 5. Celestine Caroni looks at how the teams got to this point.
The cup final few could have predicted. Egypt play Cameroon for the 31st title in Africa's premier sports tournament. Two continental football giants, but whose run of form in recent years hasn't inspired confidence.
Egypt are returning to the Cup of Nations for the first time in 7 years with a young squad, so we weren't expecting
them to make the finals. And Cameroon, the reason why we weren't expecting them to go far was because they had 7 or 8 players pull out prior to the competition. And even the experienced players that have come have not been started by the coach, like Nicolas Nkulu or even Vincent Aboubakar. So very unexpected results.
Maher also believes for the Pharaohs, the title hunt in Gabon is more than just football glory.
Egypt's ongoing an economic crisis of sorts before this Cup of Nations took place. Their Egyptian pound is plummeting. A lot of people were living very tough times in the country, and now they have this team to rally around.
The Indomitable Lions are chasing title number 5 after seeing off pre-tournament favourites Senegal in the quarterfinals and perennial semi-finalists Ghana in the last 4.
In the group stages, we saw a Cameroonian side who were, some people would say negative, let's say defensive. They struggled to score goals, but they didn't concede many goals as well. But we've seen in the knockout stages, even against Senegal, who were many people's favorites, a team that were impressing everyone, we saw Cameroon take it to them and create goal-scoring opportunities, especially in that second half. And then yesterday against Ghana, an African giant, 2-0, nobody expected that at all. So credit to them, they've been improving with every matchup.
An almost impenetrable defense is a characteristic shared by both finalists. Cameroon have conceded 2 goals, while Egypt's veteran goalkeeper Essam El Hadary has only been beaten once in regulation time.
I think that's been the trend for the last few Cup of Nations. I remember in 2013, for example, Burkina Faso made it to the final only winning 1 match in 90 minutes. So that's sort of been the trend for a while now. The teams that are difficult to beat, not necessarily scoring a lot of goals, but specifically not conceding a lot of goals. These are the teams that tend to advance far in the competition.
The last time this stadium hosted a Cup of Nations final, a new nation was added to the list of winners. That was Zambia. On Sunday, though, it will be about 2 teams who know what it means to win titles at the Cup of Nations. Now, what Africa waits to see is which of these 2 nations will add a title to their trophy cabinets.
And that item brings us to the end of the Kiss FM SKN News Now Weekend Edition, brought to you with the kind compliments of Glen Barrows Pest Control and Guest House. Thank you for tuning in. Do have yourself a wonderful weekend. I am Leslie Joseph.